Just a quick background story of how I met Aaron. I met him yesterday. This guy is such a force of nature. This is what he did. This is how I met him. I was in a faculty meeting, okay, with other professors, right? We're talking about other stuff. Aaron just barges into the room and he just says, "Hey guys, can I take 10 minutes of your time to pitch my business idea?" Just think about that, just steamrolled into the room, and everyone's just kind of looking around like, what the fuck, like, this guy, right? And he holds court, and for the next 10 minutes, he's talking about his business, and basically, I think one of the faculty just kind of kicked him out afterwards, I left really intrigued and so forth, and so before Aaron left, I said, "Hey, contact me," and so forth, and I wrote down my name and email and everything, and so we met up, later that day and just talked about his business, and I was like, "Hey, look, it would be great if you just shared your experience, not just about your business idea, but also how you became an entrepreneur." So he's in the engineering school, so he's an electrical engineer. You're a senior?
Yes, sir.
And so it's very fascinating in terms of how he started to think about starting a business, and here it is. The floor is yours, Aaron.
Yeah, howdy.
Howdy.
Yeah, so my name is Aaron. You can call me Aaron or Poe, anything you want. But yeah, I started this business called Boju last year around the summer, end of summer. The reason I actually started it was because I got kicked out of my internship. So at this internship, I basically kind of did a lot of engineering stuff, but truthfully, I wasn't really passionate about it. It was at that point where I was really considering, like, hey, do I want to be like invincible? Like, not invincible, Incredibles, where I like sit in an office for like the next 20 years of my life, like just coding and just like realizing, oh shoot, I just like blew off 20 years of my life. Or do I want to like, be a painter, just like start something really creative, do something really fun. And that's where I had this idea of Boju. Boju's is basically a boba and soju company that I created. When I realized after I went to a boba shop with lychee boba and then went to Pucha with my friends. Pucha is a Korean bar, by the way. Went to Pucha and got the soju drink with lychee, and I held the boba in one hand and the lychee in another. I was like, why don't I just like dump it in the other one? And when I dumped it, took a sip, I was like, that does not feel anything, and I just felt like passed out. And like, it was such an amazing flavor. The alcohol basically doesn't taste like anything because it uses what's called rice, a rice-based spirit, and it was like a fabulous taste. And that's when like it clicked in my head, and I was like, why don't I just like start a business on this? Because I always knew when I was younger, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And that's when I went through it, and I went for it. And basically for a whole summer, I did a lot of tastings and a lot of like, different types of blends and all that. Really did a lot of testing. And next semester, fall semester, I basically went up to asked a lot of entrepreneurs, like, hey, how do I get this how do I get this started? I went to like the engineering. They had like an engineering, what's it called? Career fair, not career fair. It's chill. It's good. It's like similar to, it's like engineering entrepreneurship. It's like on the 3rd floor or 4th floor. But anyways, I went in to ask them, and then I basically asked one of the professors, like, hey, how do I get this started? And he's just like, well, what are you selling? I was like, I'm selling alcohol. And it's like, why don't you just go to a bar and ask them? It's like, how do I go to a bar and ask them? You just knock on the bar. So yeah, basically after that meeting, I was like, okay, cool, I'll try it. Went up to a bar, Bomb House, if anyone knows by any chance. Knocked on the door, was like, hey, can I sell it? And I was like, I don't think they're gonna allow me. And they're like, no, cool, just get a TABC license. I was like, oh wow, cool. Started getting the TABC license, and next 12 weeks, basically sold my product, and each of the time I opened up, profit. And that's when I knew I had a banger idea. And what really like set that home run was on the 12th week, the guy basically came up to me and was like, yeah, you can't sell at Bomb House anymore. I was like, why, did I do something wrong? And he was like, no, you're just basically outselling us. So I made that much profit, where it's at a point where it's like, oh, I knew I had to do something with this. And that's when I started, really started focusing on the idea of like, hey, how do I make this into a really big profitable business? And that's where I came up with the candy idea. I came up with that logo right there, really put it on all the seals and everything, and had to go with a really minimalistic design, because when you do marketing, especially for alcohol, and at this target age of like 21, 22, you can't go really underage or really like underage design as like an anime or something like that, because that can really perceive as like, hey, you're targeting like the wrong audience. So you really had to like pinpoint that, and I really was blessed with having this person at Rice design me all these logos and design me really minimalistic design, which I think can really appease the audience and just like, you know, get the idea through that we're selling alcoholic boba. So yeah, from then on out, I'm at the stage right now where I'm actually looking for angel investors. And that really taught me a lesson. It's like, hey, if you're gonna get these people, similar to when I knocked on Bob House, you really just need like two things: confidence and courage. When you really do this entrepreneurship journey, you get these by doing your research. You know, basically looking all up online. Hey, why is this a profitable business? This boba idea is like the boba industry itself is like $3 billion. Alcohol, well, I don't even have to say. You guys know exactly. So yeah, I knew basically I had like a banger idea, and you really just need the confidence to do that, and you need to know what you're dealing with, especially like research and all that stuff. Especially for alcohol, you're going through so many laws, and like some person can just like hit you up with like a, hey, like you're doing something wrong with your product, and then you just sit there. If you don't really know what you're doing, then you're kind of like, you're getting like spanked basically. And then next thing is courage. Courage is basically the ability to go like knock on other people's door and be like, hey, I have a really brilliant idea. If you don't take that step into asking, like going to uncharted territories, basically, you'll never find something new. You'll never be able to have that ability to, what's it called? Basically, you know, ask out pretty girls, you know? You gotta basically, I often associate business with Riz, actually. It's super weird. I don't know why. You really need confidence and you really need courage if you want to hit up at like an 11, you know what I mean? So, so yeah. Anyways, that's where Boju comes in, and that's where I kind of started from there. And then, how I like to say, like when you do a pitch, and basically, you know, talking with girls, you gotta hit something like to hit, like, oh boy, that's a really bad term.
It's okay.
To do like
use any word we want.
I'm sorry. No, but the beautiful way is like if you really want to like get a message across, especially talking with girls over the past like 3 years, I learned is that you don't want to play like too unsafe. You want to play too safe. You gotta hit like a sweet spot basically. You cannot do like you cannot cuss. Honestly, it's playing too risky. A lot of people really don't appease that. And when I did this, did like kind of a lecture at UTD, similar to this, like I dropped like 2 F-bombs and like half the people were just like, I'm not listening to this guy anymore. So really know your target audience. Prefer not to cuss unless you know the people are there like cussing. So yeah. And then my last thing is basically start with a hook and end it with a hook, right? I'm still working on my first hook because I'm just thinking about it. I was thinking about saying like, hey, I played for A&M football. I did. I'm starting a $1 billion business, and you know, it's something weird. I don't know. I haven't really thought that through, but I really did think through my ending hook. I like to ask people like, hey, like name me a boba business. Can anyone? No boba businesses? Nothing? Not target audience, I guess. But I'd like to say, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm trying to think of a few, but I used to go to, there's so many. I used to go to this one. It's not good. It's one of the big chains that's not really good.
Mm-hmm. They're a lot.
Yeah, I've only ever had good boba from like mom and pop businesses.
Yeah, they make it fresh, that's why. A lot of these people don't really care, I'd say, but mom and pop businesses, they brew it on the spot, only leave it there for a few hours and sell it. So they kind of know what they're doing. Compared to big businesses, they're like kind of like KFC, they don't really care.
Hey, tell them about, I learned a lot from Aaron about the different types of boba, actually. So
Yeah.
you're telling me about like basically a lot of the boba shops use very cheap boba, but to make, tell more about that. I didn't know about that, sort of differences in boba. So.
Yeah, I guess differences in boba, there's obviously a lot of toppings. To make really good boba, you gotta make it on the spot, fresh. This actually leads into one of my, I didn't think y'all would care, but since we're going into like this really specific topic, I'll go into a really specific topic about barriers when you do entrepreneurship. Because what stops people, like what I don't really consider like cookie shops, like cookie stores, if that makes any sense, like entrepreneurship. Like so like a person just opening up like a cookie store and selling it at like lots of like different places. I don't consider that like entrepreneurship because anyone can do it, honestly. You really have to set up barriers and know like, hey, when I'm taking this step, what prevents other people from doing it? I guess what my barrier between you and me is, from you guys starting a boba shop like this, I guess knowledge, you don't know how to start a distillery, but also the cost of starting a distillery and all these like taking that next step into a entrepreneurship level of doing this distillery, making the canning and all that stuff, it takes a few $1,000s, like 80, 70, if you want to lease out a place, you have to at least prove to them like, hey, I can lease out this place for whatever term you're asking for, maybe 1 to 3 years, and that's going to cost you roughly like $150,000 off the bat. So I say that's a low-level barrier. What prevents other people, like college students, thinking of, hey, this is a brilliant idea, why don't I do it myself? I think that's a low-level barrier because you have to take a low-level risk. But I see what I'm thinking of preventing higher businesses from doing this is, first of all, I'm thinking about creating a cap on top of my boba product, which will keep the boba fresh, which defines it as like a fresh product. A lot of these days, a lot of these mom and pop shop, why they're known for like really premium boba, is that they make it fresh on the spot. They don't really add preservatives. But for my business to work, I might have to innovate in like a specific capacity where I coat the boba itself when it's fresh in like a sugar preservative formula. I can't really go deep into this because this is where I start working with food scientists and they like have NDAs and all that stuff. But that's kind of like a method that I'm thinking about doing, and you really just gotta like prevent. That's like a high level barrier where I can then put a patent on it and then license it so that other business can take it, but they were less likely to take it because they know the business is mine. Go for it.
Is it ultimately, are you wanting to have your own actual franchise chain, or are you wanting to ultimately lease? Like just
Boba?
like Boju, like in other words, have deals with different bars and like other places and just have them sell it, or have your own storefront?
I'm trying to basically be the next CEO of Coca-Cola.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, I mean, I can lease it. I'd say like a method that we might be working with for the boba itself is that we might initially go with boba pops. They're another very popular, not very popular, but they're like a proven product that boba, they basically do like boba toppings. You can scoop a little boba and then put it into your like cocktail or something, and it's already alcoholic. So when you bite into it, it gives you like a nice like pop of alcohol. So this could be really good for just like in general marketing. They already have a market. I want some of their market because I know they're already interested in boba. They just don't have a drink that goes with it yet, so that we could do potential collab with them, like Boju X Boba Pops, and then that can already sell. It's kind of like Jack and Coke. You know how they recently came out with like a Coca-Cola can? So kind of like that, you know. So going back to the point where he said there's a lot of other products like premium boba, I'd say that's would be our high level barrier for what prevents other high level companies from getting us. But honestly, what it wraps this whole thing and covers all barriers is just branding. Honestly, when you brand yourself really well, you know that other people know that you're the first to do it, then you don't really have to care about barriers. Sure, steal my idea. I make 50 million. You make them like 1 million. I don't care about you. Does it make sense? So, yeah, that covers my other point about brand, just barriers in general. You got to really consider like branding as one of them, and I guess that boosts your confidence too a little bit too. Confidence and courage, you know, makes yourself really unique. Go ahead.
So I got here, like, this is like a boba shop that you opened up? Like
Candy.
a concept?
All canned.
Oh.
And that brings me to our next point. Actually, that brings me to the next point. You have to think about market, right? Talking with you people, I'm not gonna just be like, hey, this is how much equipment I need, this is the cost and everything. You guys really wouldn't care, right? So I have to really form it in a way where you guys would care. So I'm teaching a lesson basically here. You guys come to A&M to get a lesson, right? So I think what you guys might be also interested in is market, right? Can someone here just name me like a business they want to think about starting? Anyone? You're in an entrepreneurship class, right?
It's your final paper.
Yeah, I can go on a lot of topics about this, but let's say, I'll just give me, for example, my market for Boju is gonna be 21, right? 21-year-olds, 23-year-olds, people that are really starting to get into drinks. So our first target audience would probably be like our market test. When I came up with this is that the first people I want to be tasting this was probably Greek. I'm in Greek, I was in Greek myself, I was in Omegas. It's like an Asian Greek near here. And what they basically do is like every, especially UT, they would hold like 3 parties every single few months, right? And at this party, I was like, hey, why don't I just go up to these people once I have a bunch of drinks? I'll just give it for free, you know, test it. First market test would probably be like the rush event. During the rush event, I'll just be like, hey, you guys, I'll just give you Boju for free. You guys just basically give it like, you know, tell your audience like, hey, we're selling Boju at, we're not selling, we're giving free Boju at our, our party. This would be a good market. Like, a lot of Asians go to a lot of Asian parties, so then they get to know what Boju is. First test, That would be our first test. Just give it for free, get everyone the idea of concept of what Boju is, and then when they hold their second party, I really want to get like to see like not just there is a market, but how to test the market. So testing that market at that second test, I'll be like, hey, if you want Boju, you have to pay at least like $5. We'll give you free Boju all of like for the whole like party at least. And then if people are willing to pay based on the amount of what's it called? Based on the amount of people that go to the party, then I have kind of like an estimate of how much people are willing to pay for this product or like no for this product. And then by the third party, if the second party goes successful, I'll probably raise up to $10, see how much people want to pay for $10. And probably it'll definitely lower because there's like a market market equilibrium, right? So that's how to test the market equilibrium, right? So that's kind of like my steps on taking this first market test. But probably if this all goes successful at Greek, I'll probably just go to raves, honestly. Go to raves, do TikToks, hey, you want a free drink? Boom, taste it. Oh my God, it's so good. And then like, oh, it's disgusting. I'll cut that clip out, but you know what that is. You know, it's market at the end of the day, it's TikTok. Just post it on there, see if get a good branding on there, and that's like, you know, helps branding, marketability, and go from there, right? Any other questions?
Do you guys know soju? So grain alcohol, right?
Great alcohol. So yeah, if you don't have any questions, I'd like to end it on this to make you guys, go ahead.
I just wanted to know what your timeline was like from when you had your idea, what your research process looked like, and when you actually started manufacturing the drink itself to have to give to people.
We're still in the phase of getting angel investors and a distillery up for it. But I'm pretty confident I'll get the distillery up by the end of this, like probably by the end of this week, honestly, if I'm really confident about it, do my research well. Me and Toby are gonna be visiting a place to actually look at the distillery and see if it's actually a good place to set up. I say this brings up to another point when you have to know what the advantages and disadvantages are about your company. Like for Boju, for example, it's not really going to be like a cafe or anything like that. It's just going to be a place that makes alcohol. So I don't really need like an expensive place because near main cities they have like zoning laws, like very strict zoning laws. I wanted to initially set up in like Plano, Frisco, because that's where I'm from, but they have very strict zoning laws because it's a residential area. So that's kind of like our weakness, but our strength is that if I can just go to like Princeton, Texas, or like down in Navasota, and they have really like not as strict, like what's the opposite of strict again? Lax, yeah, very lax zoning laws. So at those places, I can set up my distillery and pay basically $1 per square foot every month. And it's like super cheap, right? So you gotta know how to play with your strengths and your weaknesses in this business when you start a business.
I just wanted to make it in my garage, but apparently you can't make
Yeah, you
alcohol
can.
in your home.
Yeah, that's like Heisenberg, like
So that's like West Virginia, like redneck shit, you know?
Like,
But I
they
wanna
call it
do that,
moonshine.
I wanna do that, same cost, right?
Go ahead.
So when you're looking for angel investors, like how are you seeking them out?
Walk and talk. How do you think I found this guy out?
So this guy's, right, I told you how I met him, right? He just barged into a faculty meeting, just roaming around the business school.
Yeah.
And just like trying to grab whoever would listen to him. That's how I met him. Like we were in a faculty meeting, Aaron just barged in and said, hey, can I interrupt you guys? And just like, I want to talk to you about my business idea.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
So yeah,
You
you know,
should see me in 2 years, bro. I'll be in like Shark Tank or something. Dude, I'm telling you, the most important part about business, the reason why Ivy League is called Ivy League is not because they teach the same, teach different concepts or harder concepts. You learn the same thing, okay? Like engineering, A&M engineering is famous, but they're not Ivy League. Ivy League is known for Ivy League because of one simple important thing. Can anyone say it? Networking, exactly. They are famous for networking. You can just go to anyone, talk with them. If they just like your idea and they have $500 million, just give you $1 million. I don't care, right? That's what they're known for. So you really got that's what Ivy League is known for. I despise people. Well, not despise. I think they're unwise. Well, despise and unwise, different terms based on your age. If you're like 18 years old, at least I grew up from the community where it's like, I must go to Ivy Leagues. And it's like, dude, you're just learning like philosophy there. Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, you go to those places, like at least business-wise, why I want to go to UPenn is that they have phenomenal networking. You can go up to anyone, you can basically pitch your idea to anyone, and it's like, yeah, I like your idea, $5 million, boom, you know? So that's the whole point of Ivy League. You don't go to Ivy League for the status of Ivy League. You go to Ivy League, so when you go to Ivy League, you can network with those people. There's a reason why Harvard dropout is a famous term, and you say Bill Gates. It's because Bill Gates realized, like, hey, I'm learning the same thing here, but I really just want to go there so I can get some money so I can start, like, you know, a multi-billion-dollar business. Does it make sense? You don't go to Ivy League because you guys get the term. Go ahead.
I have a lot of questions, but
Ask someone else first, and then I'll get to you.
Throughout your process, what are some of the challenges that you encounter?
A lot, but that's like paragraphs of words. But I want to answer some other questions just so it balances out. But I'll go to you next after.
Do you have a website, or where can we buy Boju?
We're working on a website right now
Okay,
because
got
right now it's kind of expensive for us. Roughly like $300 to $500 to make one. But I like working with people that are not necessarily I can make a website, but I want to make a website. Does it make sense? So I'm working with this guy right now. He's actually in high school right now, but he's really passionate about making websites and all that stuff. He's proven it, and he's willing to host our website for very cheap through like Amazon or something like that. So I'll just go with him. He sounds really interesting, and I'll help him out too. You don't need to like hire someone who's really expensive to do like the basic works of a startup. So yeah, go ahead.
So, whenever you talk about sponsorship, what is your plan, or like have you considered partnering with larger, more established, like alcohol industries? Because I mean, I know for me personally, like when I get out of school, I'm gonna go into the alcohol industry, and so I know like a lot of what they do is like kind of expand their portfolio, and they're always doing R&D. And I mean, kind of talking to recruitment conferences with my company, they're talking about like always trying to find like the new best thing, etc. So I don't know if you've like considered that or like thought about that.
Working with bigger companies.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I guess Boba Pasta would be an example, right? Working with a company, but personally for me, I'm not doing Boju because I want to make money or want to be like a CEO. I just do it because I think business is fun, you know. If it's a pain in my butt, you'll never get anywhere in entrepreneurship. Honestly, there's so much like pain you have to go through. And I'll cover your point after, going based on this. There's a lot of pain you'll go through, and if you don't, there's like a quote I remember yesterday when this guy went through. It's like if you cannot bear the pain for like a year, then you can't bear it. Just don't bear for it for a day. Does that make any sense? So you really have to fall in love with your idea. Don't fall in love with the product, I'd say. Fall in love with the idea of like just business in general. Like I love talking like this, so it promotes me to spread my business and like really think about what I'm going through with my business. And that covers my other point about what's it called? I guess hurdles, right? Hurdles I went through. I say the primary hurdles I'm going through right now and have been going through is finding business partners. So like finding the right business partners is like really difficult because at least for me, when I initially saw it, like I wanted someone who had the same ambition as me, but you have to realize other people are also going through different hurdles too. Like some of them are going through college. The first person I opened up with, co-founded with, he goes to SMU, but after like school started, he's like, yeah, I have to study, I have to focus on school. And I respect that, and I let him go through his school, right? I always call him up saying, hey, you want to join me on this? But he's still going through school, so I totally respect it. And some people have to like pay like debts and all that, so they have their own ambitions that I have to like push towards, and I have my own ambitions that I push towards, right? So I guess that's like my primary like goal right now, co-founders, and some of them aren't necessarily the hardest workers, but sometimes you gotta tell people what to do to get like things across. I don't have all the knowledge in like economics, finance, or anything like that, so I kind of just like walk around the school and talk with people. Nothing wrong with that. So yeah.
Jay had a comment.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
you were saying that you don't have a distillery yet, and y'all are gonna go look for it. So how are you supplying stuff to the malt house before?
Back then was I asked them to order the alcohol because they have the permits and everything, and I'll just use their alcohol and then go like mix on the spot.
Okay.
Make the alcohol, not make the alcohol, make the boba at home, bring the boba over, and then marinate it in alcohol and then sell like that because both our products were alcoholic.
So you were like a bartender at the bar?
Yeah, basically a bartender at the bar. Yeah.
How much have you like invested and had to spend to get to this point?
12 openings. Each opening I'd roughly spend about $100. I made profit around like $250 to $300 each time. So I'd say 1,200, made 3,000. So I knew it was like profitable, like to a point where I could like confidently sell it. Go ahead.
Have you approached other places, like on Northgate or whatever, and see
Yeah.
if they allow you to do the same thing you did with the first place?
Yeah, I did. Because our initial concept was to actually open up a bar ourselves and do it kind of like a cafe style, like a boba. We call it like a boba bar, right? But then I realized that was like way too linear and it cost way too much capital. Like, it was kind of safe too, where it's like I knew it was kind of gonna work. But if you want to buy like a place in Northgate, you have to spend like $2 million, like $1.5 million. Crazy expensive for like a college student to go forward. But I just wanted to like just start off with this. I had like a mental strategy of how I want to approach it, not just like buy out a nice place and just make it look nice, if that makes any sense. So, yeah. Go ahead.
How much like capital do you need to raise? Like showing angel investors, how much?
You have to do your, depending on what your business is, you have to do the calculations, and you have to be real finite about it too. Because if I ask you like, if I ask like your business like, hey, how much does this specific equipment cost? And if you really don't do the research and you just start stuttering, the guy knows you like BS. Does that make sense? So for me, right now at my phase, roughly like 50,000, I'd say. Depending on the what's it called, the licensing and all the what's it called, the like the distillery leasing, how much it costs, then it fluctuates around 50,000. I can get more specific if I bring up my slide, but you don't. My Excel sheet, but you don't really need to look at it. I recommend if anyone's starting a business, create like a pro forma. If anyone knows what a pro forma is, create one of those, and then like it shows the investors like, hey, what's like the estimate of profit we can make if everything goes successful. I do like a 2-layer one, which is like, this is what if it's like successful, this is what if we go to different plans. Also, I like to say like when you go to an angel investor, don't just come up with one plan when you go up to them, because most likely your plan won't succeed. I'm not gonna lie. So I'd say like flow like water, where it's like if one thing doesn't succeed, go towards another. If that doesn't succeed, go towards another. At least have like a 3-step plan. I put it like that. So yeah. Any other questions?
And put your, do you have maybe your email? That way, if anybody's interested in what Aaron's doing, or right, you can reach out to him and so forth.
Shoot, I'm not sure if it's down here.
On here.
I didn't write it down. I'm not sure, but let me see. Yeah, no, you know, I should add that actually. This is our whole pitch slide. That's whatever. If you're interested, just help me out. Like, just search me up on Insta or something. Aaron Wang 17. It's pretty simple. But yeah, I like to end my pitch on this to like show you how like profitable this business is. Like, you know, I just said it earlier. Like, name me like a boba store. You can like honestly associate with coffee, right? There's Starbucks. What's it called? Starbucks. Dutch Bros. I'm not really a coffee drinker, so Dunkin', right? Yeah, just any like coffee. Coffee would be like 117. I'm not sure how much capital is in the market of coffee, but boba itself is like 3.1 billion, 3.3 billion. Alcohol, you can name like basically anything, super profitable, right? I'd like to guys to ask you to name one alcoholic boba company. None?
Boju.
Boju. That's it. Cool.
Oh, cool.
I'm not listening.
Aaron, yeah.
What are your like? What are your goals in life? What do you like? Do you want to go to more entrepreneurship? Do you want to?
I didn't really hear you.
I was gonna ask you, like, so what are some of, like, what are your goals in life? I was wondering, like, where you're headed. What is your dream? It's kind of what I'm after. Do you want to become an entrepreneur and kind of go in that lighting, or do you want to more support new businesses and help people that are establishing the businesses, or do you have like any dreams towards like that?
Probably all, honestly.
So you're just trying to amass as much knowledge as you can towards like business and business practices.
Honestly, I'm probably gonna die when I'm like 40. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, yeah. It's okay.
No, yeah, I have a lot of like diseases, I guess, or like medical issues. Narcolepsy, fatty liver, epilepsy. So that was one of the reasons why I got actually kicked off of the football team. Was I played like I did walk-ons basically. I never actually played football. I did walk-ons. I wrestled before. Did jiu-jitsu when I was in Corpus Christi. And then basically tried out for a football team. I just did it for fun, honestly. But out of the 70 people that tried out, I was one of the 11 that got on. I was like, wait, I thought I got scammed at first when Alan Walker texted me. I was like, I'm really interested in you. I was like, wait, what? And I was like, and then he's, yeah, you're one of the 11 that got on. And I was like, oh, shoot. So we went up the whole meeting and everything. They did like a medical test on me. And then 3 weeks after playing, they just kicked me out. They were just like, yeah, we can't have you. And I was like, why? Did I do something wrong? Did I not play well? He was like, nah, you did fine, but like, you know, you can't take steroids while you're playing football. I was like, oh, okay. It was because one of the steroids I was taking was for narcolepsy. So yeah, I'm just trying to, you know, I think life is kind of like food. There's a lot of food. Like, why just eat one? You know, try all.
There you go. I'm super proud of you. That's appreciated.